Aerial operations is the topic for this upcoming drill cycle. The material for this presentation came from the E1 user manual, an FDIC instructor for FDNY, he's an EO for the Bronx, and department policy. P3 is a 1993 E1 Hurricane aerial platform. The water tank capacity is only 200 gallons. The pump capacity is 2,000 GPMs at 150 PSI, and it responds to structure fires, inside gas leaks, smoke and fire alarms, and explosions. It no longer responds to water rescues. Policy 707 describes the minimum distance that we need when we're working around power lines. Extreme caution shall be used when operating near power lines. All power lines are presumed to be energized. Ladders and aerial devices shall not go within the minimum distances as described in the policy. And the policy says that between 0 volts and 50,000 volts, you need at least 10 feet of clearance. And then it goes all the way up to 500,000 volts to 700,000 volts. You need 31 feet, 8 inches. I would prefer always to play it safe and always keep the ladder and the platform about 32 feet away. When it comes to working around power lines, I'm going to talk about positioning in a few slides. But if the platform or ladder makes contact with any energized electrical lines, we don't want to allow any person on the ground to touch the apparatus or any person on it. Personnel on the apparatus or ladder will become the same voltage potential as the electrical wire if they're making contact with the ground and the apparatus at the same time. If the apparatus does become energized, it's extremely important for personnel in the apparatus not to touch the ground. We want to wait for consumers to arrive and they shut the power off. If emergency conditions dictate leaving the apparatus, jump completely clear of the apparatus and don't step off. The pump operator should stand on the anti-electrocution platform at all times. We never want to operate the ladder during a lightning storm, and we do not want to leave the turntable control station while the ladder is in operation from the bucket. More safety guidelines is we don't want to raise, rotate, or extend the ladder until the outriggers are properly set. We always operate the ladder controls smoothly and slowly to avoid a jerky and erratic movement that may throw a firefighter out of the platform. We never attempt to move or reposition the apparatus with the ladder out of the stowed position. It has some override controls that will allow someone to do it if they know how, but for the purposes of safety in this presentation, that's not something we're going to teach. And we always want to retract the outriggers before moving or repositioning the apparatus. Safety guidelines continued before initiating extension, elevation, or rotation of the ladder. Ensure the area and the direction of movement is clear of obstructions and personnel. We don't want to allow personnel to climb the ladder during operation. The ladder should not be moving. The ladder should be stationary when climbing. All personnel in the platform should wear, or they shall wear, a safety belt and a lanyard at all times. And don't power the platform down on roofs. We want to make sure that we position the platform approximately 6 inches above the structure and allow for the weight of personnel to deflect the platform down on the structure. More safety guidelines include never use the platform or ladder as a battering ram to knock out windows, tip over walls, or to ventilate roofs. We're not Detroit Fire. When operating the ladder at night, ensure the lights on the ladder and the platform are turned on. When operating in temperatures below freezing, always drain the waterway immediately after use. And don't operate the ladder if wind speeds exceed 35 miles an hour. More safety guidelines, never coast the vehicle downhill in neutral. This could result in severe transmission damage. We want to use extreme caution when accelerating or decelerating on unstable or slippery surfaces. Never extend the outriggers onto unpaved surfaces. The apparatus should be positioned at a location where the ground is stable and paved, and it will be as level as possible. We don't want to exceed the platform and ladder load capabilities. There's a chart that is going to be shown in the next slide. Outrigger pads should never be placed over manhole covers. And we want to position the wheel chocks in the front and back of the tire approximately a ½ inch from the tire. This will keep the tires from coming down on the wheel chocks when the stabilizers are stowed, and it will also let you know if the apparatus is walking. If the tires are moving closer to one wheel chock, the apparatus is not correctly stabilized, and we need to take action to correct that. This chart indicates the ladder and platform load capabilities. The one thing I want you to pay close attention to is the tip load when we're flowing water. There's only a maximum of 2 people that can be in the platform when we're flowing water. Another thing we want to consider is if we have a quarter inch of ice on the ladder, that will reduce the ladder load capability by 1/2. Draining the waterway. With the rear and side drains open, raise the ladder to its maximum elevation to allow water to completely drain before retracting the ladder. Retracting the ladder before draining will damage the seals in the ladder pipe. With the ladder in the stowed position, open the 2 drains underneath the ladder platform. Then we want to tip the platform slightly back to allow all the water to drain from the piping that's mounted underneath the platform. And pictures of the drains will follow in the next 3 slides. The power required to drive the main hydraulic pump is supplied by a vehicle engine transmission driven power takeoff unit, or PTO. The PTO switch is located in the instrument control panel in the cab. Outrigger and ladder operations can only begin once the PTO has been engaged. Before engaging the PTO, ensure that the engine is in neutral and the parking brake is set. Don't attempt to engage the PTO when pumping water. The RPMs need to be brought down as low as possible before the PTO is engaged. Lower the pump throttle to idle. And always disengage the PTO after use. The PTO or transmission may be damaged if the apparatus is driven with the PTO engaged. Outrigger operation. The purpose of the outriggers is to provide an expanded level rigid base for ladder operations. Position the vehicle at the selected site, place the transmission into neutral, set the parking brake, and engage the PTO. If you're in tight quarters, use a pike pole or roof hook to measure the distance needed to fully extend the outriggers to make sure you have enough room. This technique will be explained in a future slide. Set the wheel chocks on both sides of the tire, leaving about a ½ inch space between the tire and the wheel chock. Position the outrigger pads and turn on the master switch and position the ladder jacks transfer switch to jacks. Extend the left or right outriggers, raising the vehicle slightly, taking the bulge from the tire sidewalls. Extend the front and rear jacks simultaneously. Using the opposite jack controls, extend the other 2 outriggers in the same manner. If one side of the apparatus is on higher ground, bring down the high side outriggers first, and we just want to make contact with the ground, do not lift. Then fully deploy the outriggers on the low side of the apparatus and complete the process by taking the bulge away from the high side tires. Next, we want to level the apparatus using the jack controls. The green interlock indicator will light when all 4 jack lights are illuminated. Ensure the level indicators are in the green or yellow area. When using the apparatus in freezing temps, we should set salt under the jack pads to keep the vehicle from sliding when the ladder is in the extended position. Setting the outriggers should not be attempted on slopes exceeding 12%, which is 12 foot of rise per 100 feet, from the front, rear, or to the side. If one side of the apparatus is on higher ground, bring down the high side outriggers first. And again, we just want to make contact with the ground, we don't want to lift. Then fully deploy the outriggers on the low side and complete the process by taking the bulge away from the high side tires. Ladder controls. The operator control station is located on the turntable. 3 levers controlling raising, lowering, extension, retraction, and rotation. Identical controls are located on the platform. To enable the platform control panel, the operator at the turntable needs to engage the tip power base power control switch. To operate ladder controls, the ladder jack transfer switch must be positioned in the correct mode, and the power switch must also be on at the turntable. We want to make sure to apply slow and even pressure to control levers for smooth ladder starts and stops. Be aware that there's an acceptable amount of drift when letting go of a control lever. This means that the ladder may continue to move in the direction of travel for a moment, even after the control lever is released. Sudden and erratic ladder movement could endanger personnel and cause the ladder to be damaged. The ladder is most stable when the ladder is extended from the front or rear It's most stable when it's extended from the front or rear of the apparatus, and it's least stable when the ladder is fully extended to the side. The interlock system is designed to allow ladder operation only after all outrigger jacks are positioned on stable ground. Retraction of the outriggers can only be accomplished once the ladder is in the stowed position. Again, there is a way to override this system, but for safety reasons, it will not be taught. Under freezing conditions, hydraulic ladder movement will be comparatively slow when the fluid is cold. Normal speed will return as the fluid warms from circulation. When the apparatus has been exposed to below zero temps without operating for a prolonged period of time, allow the fluid to circulate at low throttle until the fluid becomes warm before operating the ladder or outrigger functions. Auxiliary hydraulic pump. The ladder and outriggers may be moved to a stowed position in the event the main hydraulic pump malfunctions or the vehicle engine fails. There are two hydraulic pumps that are driven by a 12-volt DC motor, which use the vehicle's batteries for a power source. The emergency pump switch must be held in the on position while the control levers are operated to bring the ladder down. To retract the outriggers, the emergency pump switch must be held likewise at the rear of the vehicle. The auxiliary pump is not intended for continuous use, and it should only be used to return the ladder and the jacks to the stowed position. When extending or retracting the ladder, observe the rungs align for climbing indicator lamp. The lamp is mounted on the operator control station. The lamp lights when the overlapping sectional rungs are properly aligned for climbing. Waterway monitor. The waterway monitor attached to the platform is powered by an electric motor. The monitor is controlled by toggle switches for up-down, right-left, and straight fog. These controls are also located on the turntable control panel. The waterway monitor is stowed in a sideways position. The monitor needs to be adjusted in the correct position before the pump operator charges the waterway. The apparatus is equipped with a breathing air system. An air storage cylinder needs to be opened for this to be used. The pressure regulator is set to 100 psi. An adapter for our SCADA CBAs will be available very soon. Always use supplied air from the apparatus when only working from the platform. However, anytime that you're going to be working off the platform or you're leaning over the platform for ventilation purposes, always make sure that you're breathing supplied air from your SCBA. Hose operations from the platform. The platform is equipped with a 2.5-inch discharge with an attached gated Y. A handline may be deployed through a window or into a roof by utilizing a high-rise pack. There's an additional 50 feet of 1.75-inch hose and a nozzle that are stored on the platform. However, we want to consider that the waterway monitor must be shut down before doing this, and that shutoff valve is located in the platform, and there's a picture of that on the next slide. Positioning the apparatus. We want to announce staging on level 1 on PLF, or if we're going into Grand Rapids Township, we want to make sure that we're on their channel. At this point in the apparatus, when we're staging level 1, is in a non-dedicated position where it can easily leave the scene. Once assigned, always stop at least one truck length short before dedicating the apparatus to a specific location. The EO should get out of the cab to determine how the apparatus needs to be positioned depending on its intended use. Positioning square to the objective. You must know the intended use of the apparatus before it's positioned. Position the turntable square to the objective. If we are using it for vertical vent operations, identify where we want to place the platform on the roof before the outriggers are deployed. Position the turntable in a manner square to that location. In this case, the turntable in the picture is square to the window to support a rescue. If the platform is square to the window, it also allows for the operation of the door. Ladder deployment. Whether you are bringing the platform to a roof or using it for rescue operations at a balcony or window, you always want to follow this sequence. We want to raise first, rotate, extend, and then lower down to a window or lower down to a roof. Desperate victims and firefighters are likely to jump for the platform while it's being raised from below them or while it's being extended in their direction. When working on a roof with a parapet wall, we need to utilize the roof ladder because we can't bring it down to the roof all the way. Ours is not set up with brackets as seen in this picture, so we want to take the ladder, the roof ladder, off the side of the ladder, and we want to extend the hooks and secure the hooks somewhere on the platform. Extending before raising from the roof. In 2009, 2 firefighters in Texas were killed when they fell 8 stories from an aerial platform at Kilgore College. They were training with a new apparatus, and unbeknownst to the turntable operator, the ladder or platform got stuck on the side of a parapet wall. The operator attempted to raise the platform from the roof while it was stuck. When the ladder did break loose, it created a violent whiplash that ejected 2 firefighters from the platform. According to the NIOSH report, fall protection was not being used during the training. But in a real-world situation, there may be a momentary delay before firefighters clip in, so it's very important to extend the ladder a foot or two to ensure that the ladder is not hung up prior to raising.
Hi, I'm Mike Jampo. Welcome to Fire Engineering's Training Minutes. Today we're going to discuss tower ladder placement at strip malls, taxpayers, and we're going to talk about how to angle the cab away from the building to gain more reach or scrub area, the amount of frontage of the building the boom and the bucket are going to reach. So we're going to watch the apparatus come into position, and he's going to take the cab and position it away from the building. This works for midship and rear mount tower ladders. A key point to remember is to train all your firefighters. It doesn't matter what type of ladder company apparatus you have, tower ladder or aerial ladder. If we gear everybody to use a 6-foot hook to judge outrigger placement, we'll be better operational and functional. We can take a 6-foot hook on this particular apparatus and come off to the side to know where the outrigger is going to go. If the chauffeur is short-staffed and he has to maneuver around a parked car or in a tight area, he could take a 6-foot hook, place it in here, it's up off the ground, and he's able to glance through the door or in his mirror and position the apparatus closer to a stationary object. Most apparatus are equipped with lights that will pinpoint the location of the jack. That's terrific. However, we got to remember, when road vibration, the light can move, or what happens when we have a burnt out bulb. Teaching everybody how to use the hook will help us. On some apparatus, we may have to use a specific mark to know where the outrigger goes. Many departments teach their members to stand next to the apparatus and stick their arm out. That's okay, but we have to remember, we all have different sized bodies and arms reach. If we use our hook to a specific point, that's going to help us better pinpoint our apparatus placement. very important for the chauffeur to learn his bedded boom length. That's his distance from the turntable to the end of the basket, okay? He wants to maintain that distance away from the building so that he can get the bucket low to the ground and use it as a water cannon. You'll also notice with the cab away from the building, he'll have more of a scrub area. He'll be able to bring that bucket all the way over to here and cover this door with water and cover all the way back. He'll also have roof access. Remember, when we pull up into this strip mall, we want to have the cavity apparatus away from the building. If we don't, we pull up parallel, okay, we're going to lose that reach in our scrub area. When the operator moves the boom to the left, it's going to crush the cab or it will be shut down by the cab avoidance system. Let's get that cab away so we increase our function and our tactics on the boom end of the apparatus. It's very important that when other apparatus arrive at a strip mall fire, don't block in the tower ladder apparatus. Let it perform its duties. Let it sweep the building. Let it get its reach. Very important for an incident commander also early in operation at a strip mall, call for that tower ladder. I'm Mike Ciampo. Thanks for watching this segment of Training Minutes.
If we have to work around power lines, we want to back the apparatus towards the objective so the turntable is underneath the power lines. The picture on the left-hand side is somewhat correct. They do have a portion of the ladder underneath the power lines, but in an ideal situation, we would have backed that apparatus up so the turntable would have been completely under the power lines. That way the ladder really is very unlikely to make contact with the lines. Picture to the right, the truck is completely energized. Anybody on that apparatus should stay on the apparatus until the power company can de-energize the situation, or in an emergency situation where they have to get off right away, they should jump completely clear. But we always want to avoid extending the ladder over power lines so this kind of situation does not occur. Defensive operations. Always consider the collapse zone when the apparatus is going to be used for a defensive operation. The general rule is the height of the building plus 10 feet. Position the turntable at the corner of the building. Again, we're not positioning the apparatus at the corner of the building, we're positioning the turntable at the corner of the building. And you want to put it at the corner of the building that has the most potential for exposure involvement. The collapse zone is not a consideration anytime the apparatus is supporting a rescue. If you have any questions about this presentation or anything that is in the drill sheets, please feel free to ask me or Lieutenant Buchanan. Thank you very much.